I wonder if you can start us off with your thoughts on Jimmy Carter as he's laid to rest today. You knew him well. I would suggest that he played a very important role in your life, as you did in his.
Well, you know, it's interesting. When the president passed, the first thought that came to my mind was we were in the locker room. We had just beat Finland. We had won the gold medal. Everybody was pretty excited. And the next thing you know, President Carter's talking to Herb Brooks, our coach. And he's done talking to Herb. Next thing, Herb hands me the phone. And I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe I'm going to be talking to the president. And I remember his words. He said, tell the team how much I love them and how proud I was of what we did and what we accomplished, and looking forward to seeing us at the White House tomorrow. And then he said, good luck. And then I remember saying, I will. And I said, good luck to you, too. And then I just was like, oh, my God, I just said good luck to the president. It was incredible. It was a memory I will never, ever, ever forget. And then we went to the White House the next day, and I'm sorry, we went to the White House the next day. He sent the plane to pick up all the Olympic athletes. He brought us to the White House. He spoke to everybody. And I just remember how genuine he was and how nice both him and Mrs. Carter were. I guess when you meet the president, you're expecting something different. And he seemed like a next-door neighbor. He was very friendly, very cordial, and again, very proud of what our team did and what we accomplished. And as you mentioned, at a very difficult time in our country. And we as a team didn't even know. We were just playing hockey and then realized that this thing was pretty big.
Well, so with the benefit of hindsight, do you look back on that in 1980 and then consider what we saw here in Washington today, a bipartisan display of a country coming together to remember an individual like Jimmy Carter, and think about how it is these unique moments in history that maybe give everybody a refreshing dose of what we really need?
And look back on what makes this country so great is people like President Carter, people who believe in this country and believe in all the great things that we have. I know it's a difficult time for everybody. It was a difficult time in 1980, but we found our way through it. And I think we can do that again. It's just, people just start believing and start respecting people and go back to some old-fashioned values that I think we've lost. And I mean, that to me was President Carter. And more so, not so much while he was the president, but what he did after his presidency. I think he's probably more recognized and appreciated for what he did later and what he stood for as a man. And I think, that's what we need now, is we need people just to let's get this act going. Let's get together again. We are so fortunate to be in the country that we live in. Let's start to get things right.
Start believing again. He says. I can't imagine what it was like to get on Air Force One. And to your point, a team of young men, you had no idea politically or probably culturally what this meant. So I want to know when you did and how long it took for you to realize the significance of this. Was it when you stepped off Air Force One at Andrews Air Force Base?
All right. When we got off Air Force One and we're on our way to the White House, the lines of people that were waving flags and chanting USA, USA, and even now, I mean, if you saw the letters I still get in the mail from people from all different ages, and the funniest thing for me is when people still come up to me and they'll say, I remember where I was when we won. And I always say, I didn't know you were on the team. But that's what that moment was. People felt proud to wave the flag again, and we were looking for something to feel good about, and it happened to be us. And, my teammates and I to this day are just so proud of what we were able to accomplish, to do it in Lake Placid. There's no greater feeling than putting on a USA jersey, other than obviously, representing the military or being a firefighter or a police officer. But when you put a USA jersey on, it means something special. And when we were able to win and do it in front of our country, I think made it that much greater for us.
Well, and certainly it was a great moment for President Carter as well. And I wonder, after those initial days and hours after the win, when he brought you to the White House, you got to meet him and the First Lady at the time. Did you stay in touch after that? How long did Jimmy Carter keep tabs on the Miracle team?
I only saw him a few times over the years when he was no longer the president. I was at some events that he was at. And still, like I said, just very cordial, very friendly, and very kind. And I think that's a great tribute to a man who obviously was the president of the United States, but never changed who he was as a person and the values that he had, and the love that he still had and has for this country.
Mike, the other side of the coin from the miracle on ice was the boycott of the summer games that same year. How did that make you and your teammates feel? What did that mean for the country?
Well, to me it was very difficult. I remember one of the first questions I got when I got to the White House was from a reporter saying, well, what do you think about the boycott? And I'm thinking, we just won a gold medal. Why don't you ask me about that? And I think it's clearly one of the toughest decisions the president had to make. And, when you look back on it, who suffered? Our athletes suffered. They didn't get an opportunity to compete. And clearly it was a big decision that the president and the government obviously had to make at the time. So it was frustrating as an athlete to have what we accomplished not have happen for our athletes who trained so hard for so many years to go there. But sometimes decisions have to be made, and the president made the one that he felt was right for our nation and right for our athletes. But, I still look back on that and realize how hard it was. And for him to do that, after taking so much pride and joy in what we accomplished, to have to not let our athletes go over and compete, I'm sure was something that was very difficult.
Well, as you look back on it, though, considering the knowledge we now have of the decades that have followed, do you ultimately think that was the right decision by President Carter? Well,
I guess no, because as an athlete, you wanted to see those athletes go. They trained hard, many years of training, just maybe for that one race or that one moment. And to not give him the opportunity, I think, was hard and difficult. But I guess, that's why he's the president, and he has to make decisions like that. But I would have liked to have seen the athletes go and compete, and especially go over and win. And win in Russia would have been pretty nice.
Yeah. Mike, when you talk to your neighbors in Winthrop, when you talk to your former teammates, or when you just kind of sit down and survey the political and cultural landscape in our country now, a lot of people think there are parallels to that time. Do we need another miracle on ice?
I don't know if anything can happen like that again, unless we went over and played the Soviets in another hockey game or something. But it's a political situation that hopefully our politicians can work together and become one big family again. It's very frustrating. I have grandkids, and it's frustrating to see the diversity that we have in this country. And I said this earlier, we live in the greatest country in the world, and I hope we can get this thing back on track and get us back to where we belong, and people believing in ourselves and people believing in each other, and keep those miracles and keep those dreams alive.